couple of months ago, I shot a video for Canon about the C70. I'll link to it in the description and in the comments, but the basic idea was to shoot 10 minutes of a key horror movie in an afternoon. And if you extrapolate this out, you could potentially shoot a whole 90-minute horror film in a week. How I shot my coverage was staying on the same lens, mainly a 35mm, and using some gimbal moves, using some handheld moves, and getting a ton of coverage. Meaning I did the scene multiple times, shooting the actress differently each time. You can see this scene of her getting out of the car. I covered 6 different ways. Now, it was only a 30-second block of her walking from her car to the front door of the house. 6 different times, 30 seconds each, no real lighting because we were using ambient. So it took 6 or 7 minutes at most. This is how most independent films are shot, single camera. It's the one person with the camera and the actor does things multiple times to get the amount of coverage to be able to cut it into something interesting and dynamic. Bigger films have gone in a different direction. They use multiple cameras to cover off a single take from multiple angles in lots of different ways. So you get your wide shot, your medium shot, your close-up, all in the same take. This means the actors have to perform the actions fewer times, so you save time there, but you also get continuity across the edit, meaning that when the actor puts the coffee cup down on a certain line in a certain way in one take, you've got 6 versions of it or 4 versions of it, so you don't need to have the actor, you don't need to be as strict of the actor putting the coffee cup down on the same take in the same way in subsequent takes. Because if they put it down in a different way, those 2 takes won't cut of that particular moment. So you end up having to use, tricks to cut around it. More cameras mean more bigger and more crew. It also compromises your lighting somewhat. You have to use bigger sources further away than smaller sources closer, which give you more contrast in your lighting. TV shows like Game of Thrones shoot exclusively like this because they have to shoot a lot of coverage very, very quickly rather than a feature film, which does, say, 3 pages a day. Game of Thrones is doing 7-8 pages a day. Meaning they need to get twice as much footage in the can every shoot day, and they do this by multiple cameras. But when you shoot multiple cameras, you can't do the same coverage plan that you would with a single camera. Like here, I was literally 5 feet from the actor walking along with them. If I did that with multiple cameras, all the cameras would see the other cameras. There would be, a guy with a camera in the shot. So they primarily use longer lenses. What I mean by longer, 100 mils and up. So in multiple camera shooting with either zooms or long lenses, what you do is you back the cameras up as far as they will go, as far as you can. You put long lenses on the cameras and you cover off the action, typically pan and tilt with the action to get more movement. Rather than moving the camera, you stay tighter and you pan around. So you go from the feet to the head or the hand to the face for those close-ups. And of course you pan with the actor as they walk. I have not done much of this type of filmmaking because I don't usually like to work with larger crews. It's more communication. I would rather just do it myself on a gimbal like I did in the Canon C70. But Sirui sent me one of their new Jupiter lenses. This is a 100mm T 2.8. And I thought I would try to recreate the scene with that I'd shot on the C70 with this sort of tripod fixed long lens style. And I should say that I shot these sequentially because there's only one of me, but there was nothing to stop me shooting this multiple times. You can even shoot on different sides of the line if you want to. You just have to shoot at an open enough stop, say T2.8, on a long enough lens, like 100mm and wider, so that the other camera in the background turns into a blurry, nondescript thing. You can even cover it up with duvetine or do something else, put a flag up to kind of hide the camera crew. If you have one of the Canon Cinema cameras like the C70, the R5C, even the C300, C500 range, I have detailed camera courses on canonmasterclass.com that go through all the ways you can get the most out of your camera and the most out of your footage. There is a lesson on lens selection and how to rig your camera as a cine camera, especially if you have one of the smaller rigs. How did this work? Well, I really actually enjoyed it. I used both the regular full frame on the R5C and then cropped in to the Super 35 frame, which would have given me like a 150 millimeter lens equivalent. And it is a lot easier to shoot logistically, right? You don't have to run around quite so much. You don't have to move with the actor, and you get all potentially do this in one take. Focus is a much bigger issue because when you're traveling with your character, you just stay 5 feet away, keep the focus at 5 feet, and then you keep it in focus by moving your body. When you're dealing with a lens like this, you have to, especially at T2.8, you've only got about a foot of depth of field. So you have to focus quite precisely as the person, especially walks towards camera. But even if they're walking across camera, you need to, turn on peaking and keep the focus really on point. That said, it is a awesome way to get a totally different version of a scene very quickly from multiple angles, especially if you're doing something like stunts that is difficult to repeat, like a squib shot or an explosion that's going to take 20 minutes to re-rig. You really should be covering it off as much as you can with the longest lens and as many cameras as you can. I even like to grab the BTS camera if I'm doing something like that and have them, at least on one of the takes, get BTS, and on other takes actually get more coverage I can use for my film. These Sirui Jupiter are also macro lenses, so the minimum focal distance is actually a third of an inch, like that far. So you can use them as long lenses. You can use them incredibly close as well to get macro shots of things. They sent me the 100 and the 70. It also comes in 24, 35, and 50, and they're really solid lenses for the price. They're all under $1,000. You can get a 3-lens kit with a free case for $2,300. These are EF mount, so I adapted them to my R5C with the RF to EF adapter, but you can adapt them to your Sony or your Panasonic or your whatever else. I also used them to recreate a shot from Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, the Fincher remake, where you have the characters walking straight to camera on a really long lens, and they don't really seem like they're moving, even though they're actually talking and walking. This one I cropped right down to the Super 16, so it made this the equivalent of a 200mm lens. It is a really cool effect, and it's a great way to get a walk and talk without having to move the camera at all. That is my look at long lens filmmaking. You can find links in the description to the Sirui lenses and to Canon Masterclass. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.